This afternoon, it's the final day of our Stuff the Bus school supplies drive, how you can help out last minute.
And what changes the Wisconsin elections officials are demanding the Madison clerk's office make after the uncounted ballot scandal.
And we're tracking storms overnight. I'll have the full forecast coming up.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for having us in today.
We have a very busy show on this Friday afternoon, but we're going to begin with some breaking news nationally. You're taking a live look at the media pool for the meeting between President Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin. The high-stakes meeting between the two leaders started at 2:30 local time, and it is still underway. The president has expressed his desire to get Putin to agree to end the war in Ukraine. But in recent days, he scaled back expectations that this meeting would yield that outcome.
We saw the pair meet each other at a military base in Anchorage, Alaska. There's video there. Although they departed together in the U.S. presidential limo, Putin and President Trump are not meeting alone, as was initially planned. The White House says U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will be present. We will continue to provide updates on this story as soon as we know more.
But for now, let's get a check on the weekend forecast. Jacob Montesano is here, and we're learning there are some storms in the viewing area. You can see them right there on the radar.
Yeah, right now they are out in Iowa. They also are producing some severe weather. Right now there is a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Iowa. There were a little bit more just about an hour ago, but this storm is dissipating a little bit. However, it has still produced a severe thunderstorm watch for parts of our area, including Grant and Crawford counties. Now, this is until 7 p.m. Looks like if the storm does impact the area, it'll be roughly around that 6 p.m. time frame. Now, as we take a look at future track, though, this storm, as I mentioned, is kind of dissipating as it pushes from west to east. And right now, there's only a small chance that this storm will impact our area, especially bring severe weather to our area, but still could bring some rain to the southwestern portion of Wisconsin. But we continue to keep an eye on it, but there is the possibility of other storms overnight. Now, I'll talk more in detail about the storm chance later because there are two possible outcomes. Now, speaking of looking at the temperatures, they are fairly warm right now, middle to upper 80s, and that's causing heat indices to be in the lower 90s for a lot of the area. So it is pretty hot. That's the story right now for a lot of the area. And most of the region shouldn't see any rain for the next couple of hours for sure, as it will be a fairly dry evening, but it will remain relatively warm. But again, I'll talk more in detail about the storm risk for tonight and tomorrow. As I mentioned, there are two possible outcomes. I'll talk more about that a little bit later.
Thanks, Jacob. An update to a story we've been following now for 8 months. Today, the Wisconsin Elections Commission moved forward with instructions for the Madison clerk's office after it failed to count nearly 200 ballots in the November 2024 election.
The mistake triggered multiple investigations and caused longtime Madison clerk Maribeth Witzel-Bale to resign. Our Ellie LaLiberte shows us how the city is moving forward.
The Wisconsin Elections Commission voted 5-1 to adopt the orders that don't only make an example of Madison, but also aim to prevent absentee ballots from going missing in the future. The 7 orders from the commission are mostly updated procedures for how the city should handle and prepare absentee ballots. The WEC did implement the Madison City Clerk's Office request to modify 5 of those orders to make it more manageable for staff. City Attorney and Acting Clerk Michael Haas says many of the orders presented by the WEC are things the city has already implemented.
I think the two main things were, again, how we improved the training for poll workers on processed absentee ballots. In addition, one of the concerns was printing the poll books sooner, closer to the election, and that was also implemented for the spring elections as well.
The next deadline for the city clerk's office is January 1st, where the clerk must detail in writing the steps taken to comply with each of the WEC orders. Reporting in Madison, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. Haas also says the city is restructuring the clerk's office to improve efficiency and accountability.
And he also noted a new clerk will be appointed in the coming weeks. Well, Costco says it will not try to get certified to sell the abortion pill most Americans use to end their pregnancies. Costco says it made the decision not to sell mifepristone at its pharmacy locations due to low demand. The announcement comes after conservative groups and company investors wrote letters to the retailer in favor of limiting access to the pill. One of those groups, the Alliance Defending Freedom, is applauding Costco's decision.
The nation's capital is suing to block the president's takeover of its police department. It comes hours after the administration escalated its intervention to the city's law enforcement by naming a federal official as the new emergency head of the department. The D.C. police chief says the move threatened law and order by upending the command structure. Dozens of people gathered outside of the D.C. police headquarters in protest of the federal takeover. The American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology are updating their blood pressure guidelines for the first time since 2017, and they include a heightened focus on alcohol. The guidelines used to say that people who drink alcohol should have 1 or fewer drinks a day for women and 2 or less a day for men. Now it's less than 1 for women and less than 2 for men. The chair of the guidelines writing committee says the goal should be total sobriety, saying there's too much evidence of alcohol's negative impacts on blood pressure.
Americans are still opening their wallets. Consumer spending rose 0.5 percentage point last month, according to the Commerce Department. Analysts say even though consumer sentiment fell earlier this year, in part due to the president's trade war, there hasn't been a major drop in overall sales.
To Wall Street, U.S. stocks ended the work week quietly, crawling back from record levels. The Dow gained 35 points, the Nasdaq is down 88, and the S&P 500 is down 19.
We have some breaking news today. The Dodge County Sheriff's Office is confirming a train derailment in the town of Lowell. I'll take a look at the image that they shared with us. This happened just after 2 in the afternoon. The Sheriff's Office received a report of a derailed Canadian Pacific train between Maiden Lane Road and the village of Reeseville. The train has a total of 95 cars and about 22 of those are derailed, and we will try to bring you that image later on News 3 Now. Well, the train is reportedly carrying crude oil and no other substances. Some of the oil is believed to have leaked from the derailed cars, but the Sheriff's Office says it is not a danger to the public, but you should avoid the area. The office says no one is hurt, thankfully. There will be a news conference at 4:30. News 3 Now has a crew on the way.
And we'll bring you updates about this developing situation as soon as we know more. You can receive notifications directly to your phone with the free Channel 3000 mobile app.
Well, this weekend is the 4th annual Ukraine Fest in Middleton.
We'll sit down with the president of Friends of Ukraine Madison to talk about the event and its significance as the U.S. pushes for an end to the war.
And our First Warn weather team is tracking severe thunderstorms in some parts of the viewing area. Jacob Montesano tells us when the warning ends when we're back. Well, we made it to Friday. Let's get a look at what awaits us for the weekend. Here's Jacob Montesano.
Thanks, Brady. We're going to see a lot of chances of thunderstorms, and we're also going to continue to see some warm temperatures. Now, the rain chances are then going to continue for early next week as well. So overall, we're going to have several chances of on and off thunderstorms over the next couple of days. Now, as we take a look at the current radar, nothing in southern Wisconsin yet, but you can see just to the west that there is some thunderstorms rolling in. However, these storms are kind of in a dissipating mode as they push from west to east. Still likely to bring some rain for the far southwestern portion of Wisconsin, but the severe weather risk does look to be pretty low, at least for right now, despite the fact that there is a severe thunderstorm warning with this storm. It is expected to dissipate into a non-severe thunderstorm over the next few hours. Now, throughout the weekend, we are going to see the chance of severe weather, with wind being the most likely hazard, but we also could see some isolated flooding. Hail risk is also pretty minor, and the tornado risk right now is pretty much zero, which is certainly some good news. Now, as we get into into tonight and tomorrow, there are two possible outcomes with the thunderstorms. This is the first possible outcome. So that line of storms in Iowa dissipating very quickly as it moves into southwest Wisconsin, still bringing some rain, but overall not a lot. And then we won't see much for the rest of the night, but that will then lead to the possibility of more storms on Saturday. The first round being for areas north of Madison, but once we get to the afternoon hours, we are going to see some scattered showers and thunderstorms develop for parts of the area, and then we're going to continue to see some redevelopment for Saturday night. The second possible outcome would bring more rain tonight, but less rain tomorrow. So here's the second possible outcome. In both cases, though, that line of storms in Iowa will dissipate as it pushes into our area, still bringing some rain, but again, not a lot. But this outcome would bring an additional line of some showers and thunderstorms later in the night, especially for areas west of Madison. And as I mentioned, could bring some severe weather with it as well. And then as we get into Saturday, still might see some lingering rain from the overnight storms. But in this scenario, we're not going to see a lot of redevelopment Saturday, which will lead to a pretty dry Saturday. So again, it all depends on if storms fire up tonight or not, because if we see rain tonight, we'll see less tomorrow and vice versa. Now, in both situations, we're going to see storms redevelop Saturday night and continue to see rain for Sunday. And the rain chances are going to continue for early next week as well, especially Sunday night into Monday. But then we're really going to dry up for the middle and end of next week. And you can see that very evident on the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, suggesting drier than average conditions for our area. And we're going to welcome that dry air with the amount of chances of rainfall we're going to see for the next couple of days. We're also going to continue to see highs in the 80s throughout the weekend, but then 70s for a lot of the days next week are in the forecast. And we're going to see a lot of dry air. So the heat index values likely very close to the actual temperatures, and it will be very pleasant, but we still got to get through these next couple of days where we could see several chances of some thunderstorms.
Thank you, Jacob. As kids head back to school, they're not just learning new subjects. They're also learning from each other about what's happening online.
But not all of the content they see is appropriate. News 3 Now's Kyrion Lee spoke with an SSM Health child and adolescent psychiatrist to help guide you and your child down a healthy digital road.
Not everything your child sees online is meant for them. Some content can be confusing, scary, or inappropriate. Dr. Ashwin Sood, a child and adolescent psychiatrist with SSM Health, says the first step is understanding that kids may be hesitant to share what they've seen because they don't want to get in trouble. He says the key is leading with curiosity.
Ask them, have they heard about this topic? Or have their friends heard about this topic? Find a way that it's relatable so that they can open up to you a little bit more. What you're going to say is, what do you think about that? Right? Because again, it's going to gauge how they're viewing that.
Role play is another tool Dr. Sood recommends. He says acting out scenarios helps kids, especially teens, think through real situations. Dr. Sood says certain behaviors like nightmares, aggression, or sudden use of explicit language can be signs that something online is affecting your child.
There are many more public health factors that are significantly increase the risk of violence. But what I am saying is that if you start hearing them kind of, using more swear language, if they're becoming a little bit more aggressive than usual, and the excessive amounts of screen time is correlating with that behavior, then that's the point where you kind of have to intervene.
He says parental controls should be your next line of defense.
Be very familiar with the individual entities' parental controls. But what we want to do is try to create as many barriers as possible. So it just gets annoying to try to access some of the explicit content.
Parental controls work well, but Dr. Sood says the best thing you can do is join your kids in the digital world and let them teach you how things work online.
Thank you, Kyrion. And as you head into the school year, it's a good idea to create a family plan. Set screen time limits, guiding your child's app usage, and having regular short conversations about how to be safe online.
Yeah, it all helps. And you can start the conversation by downloading our digital device guide. You can find that under our Time for Kids section on channel3000.com.
Well, you still have time, speaking of school, to make sure that Dane County kids have what they need to be successful as the new school year is about to begin.
But it is the last day to donate to our Stuff the Bus campaign, and you can drop supplies off at any Dane County Walgreens or Boys and Girls Club location. Our Tanisha Shaw is live outside of the Walgreens on University University Avenue with an update on where we stand with our donations. Tanasia.
Hi, Brady and Susan. Listen, I do have an update. We are not at our goal yet, which means everyone at home, I need you to listen up. Listen to me for about the next minute. We are going to stuff this bus. There's a lot in this bus already, but we need more school supplies in this bus. So Stuff the Bus, of course, is a partnership with Dane County Boys and Girls Club and Channel 3, and we're making sure kids have all the essentials. So I'm just going to pick up some stuff. So we have some pencils, regular pencils, mechanical pencils. We have a book bag. Now, when we were talking about that 500 goal, we want to fill these up. So this is an empty book bag, but we need supplies in these book bags so kids can be prepared for the school year. So we're going to fill this up with pencils, markers, everything that a child that's through pre-K through 12th grade would need for the school year. And let me tell you guys, it's a few ways that you can do that. So let me tell you, first, until 6:30, I will be here at the Walgreens on University Avenue waiting for people to just come in and donate. So you can donate physical supplies at any Walgreens in Madison until 6:30. So you have roughly like 2.5 hours-ish, less than that because it's past 4 p.m. Now, let's say if you don't have the time to, stop by, that's perfectly fine. What you can do is you can make a monetary donation. So, people are at these Walgreens and you can just chat with them about the best ways to donate. And let's say you want a specific thing. So let's say you're like, kids need book bags. It's an Amazon wish list. You can pick out the book bag and just donate it. So guys at home, everyone, please come out or please go on our website for more information on how to donate. Now, Susan and Brady, I'm going to send it back to you for now. I have faith in our viewers, okay? I feel like we're going to get that $500 goal. Look at all this stuff. I literally see people outside right now donating. So hopefully we can get to more than 500. That's what Tanasia wants.
Listen to Tanasia, everyone.
That's right. And if you go over there before 6:30, you can do something good and meet Tanasia Shaw.
Perfect.
Exactly. So that's
Perfect
a bonus.
conditions.
That's a bonus.
Tanasia, thank you very much. Well, still ahead on Live at 4, we are looking ahead to an exciting event this weekend in Middleton.
It's a celebration of Ukrainian culture. What to expect at Ukraine Fest when we come back.
As the world waits to see if a deal can be reached to end the nearly 4-year-long war in Ukraine, members of our local Ukrainian community are coming together for a celebration of the culture.
The 4th annual Ukraine Fest is happening this Sunday from 2 to 5 at Lakeview Park in Middleton. It's sponsored by Friends of Ukraine Madison. Ruslana Westerland is the group's president and founder of the organization.
Hi.
Ruslana, great to see you. You look
Thanks for
wonderful.
having me.
You look like a Ukrainian
I
flag.
know, I
So
am the
nice.
embodied Ukrainian flag.
You started this when the war started, which is sobering to think about. It's almost 4 years now.
Yes.
And I wonder how you're feeling today watching what's happening in Anchorage.
It's a very emotional day because a lot is at stake. And we just want Putin to stop invading Ukraine. We're talking about our land, and Ukrainians will not give up their land because our people live there. So we hope that some agreement will be reached that will be in favor of Ukraine, really listening to Ukrainian perspective.
Well, and as members of our local Ukrainian community and yourself have watched this, I imagine it's easy to feel a lot of heartbreak, emotion, and feel like you're alone because things are happening so many miles away. When you started this, was this a way to tell people, hey, you're not alone?
Exactly. We started organizing rallies when the war broke out, and then we organized the nonprofit 501c3 status, and it's basically 5 or 7 girls organizing cultural events to bring the Ukrainian community together. And on this Sunday, we really want to Americans also to come and support us, because if you really care about Ukraine and you want to know more about our culture and eat our food, that's the way to show that you support Ukraine. So come to our local event, and we have lots of amazing things prepared for you, and
Tell
bakery.
us about it. Yeah, tell us.
We're going to have an amazing bake sale with lots of really amazing items to taste and buy. We are going to have borscht and cabbage rolls and crepes stuffed with like ricotta cheese and vanilla and yummy things. We're going to have a great silent auction. And in the silent auction, one of the items is a book signed by the author, Simon Schuster. The book is about Zelensky, the showman. That's the title of the book. We're going to have a few memorabilia items signed by Joe Pavelski, a record-holding Badger Olympic and NHL hockey player, and many, many other gifts from the local community.
A lot of great things.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and earlier, before we started this interview, you were saying that this is an event for everyone.
Yes.
And so everyone's included.
Exactly. It's for the public because one of our mission is a two-pronged mission of our organization. One is to bring the Ukrainian community together, so we have a place where we feel like we are not alone. And another prong is to really make Ukrainian culture visible and to educate the public about that we exist. We have a gorgeous culture and language and food, and so it is educative as well, and that's why everybody's invited.
And the Ukrainian community in Madison is growing.
Yes.
It's getting bigger and bigger
Yes.
every year. We have a QR code that you can scan on your phone if you'd like to donate to help the Friends of Ukraine Madison. All you have to do is click on that on your phone, or we'll do it on channel 3002. And I'm sure you could use as much support as you can get.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on with us today.
Absolutely.
Have
Thanks
a great
for having
festival.
me.
We'll see you Sunday.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Coming up on Live at 4, what's changing on UW's campus this fall?
And where Madison officials are in the search for a new police chief. That's when we come back.
Watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon on Live at 4.
Yeah, right now we are standing by for a news conference. Here is a live look at the Dodge County Sheriff's news conference. 22 of 95 train cars derailed in rural Lowell, and we are waiting to hear more details. Right now there are no injuries. It looks like someone is approaching the podium, so we will listen in as this news conference begins.
It looks like they're just getting microphone checks and making sure we can hear.
Yeah, and right now authorities are saying the public should avoid that area, though. That's between Maiden Lane Road and the village of Reesville. Again, no injuries have been reported, but substantial derailment. 22 of 95 cars derailed in rural.
Center received a report of a train derailment out between Maiden Lane and the village of Reesville, out in the town of Lowell. And so emergency crews responded. Fire did a fantastic job, as they always do, responded and were able to get eyes on scene, identify what we had in the train's rails. There were 95 train cars in total, 22 of which we believe have derailed. We have established that 3 of those cars are leaking, and I'm going to allow the fire chief in a moment to talk a little bit about what was in there and what risk there is to the public. But I'll tell you, there really is no risk to the public. We have everything very well contained. There is no traffic closures at all outside of just the small area just outside the village here in the Kane warehousing area. Nobody is in harm's way at this moment. We have a unified command set up between our agencies and the Canadian Pacific Railroad. They are already on scene. Canadian Pacific Police are on scene. Their supervisors are on scene. So we're very fortunate. Fortunate again that this is not an Amtrak train. As you know, we did have another train derailment just over 2 years ago, July 4th of 2023. Again, that was not an Amtrak train. Very fortunate. I will tell the media that I have had conversations with supervisors that have shown up on scene and expressed my concerns that we've had 2 in 2 years. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and they need to take some steps to either reduce speed limit or change some below grade designs. So we'll see what they do, but we can't have this continue. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the fire chief to talk a little bit about the train itself and the hazardous materials that are on board. Chief?
Thank you, Sheriff. Good afternoon. My name is Eric Howlett, CLR Fire Chief. As the Sheriff said, we were paged at 2:04 this afternoon for a train derailment. He said 22 cars have derailed, confirmed. I was just on radio with my deputy. It has gone north of 30 cars right now. Hazmat is currently on scene. We've been working with emergency management from Dodge County and mitigating the cars that are currently still leaking. There are no immediate hazards to the community. CP Rail, we are working with them on setting up some air quality monitors around the area. The one resident that is on Danville Road down on the dead end where we are currently staged, voluntarily evacuated, pretty much followed the procedures we did 2 years ago when we had this derailment. The train was carrying, as the sheriff mentioned, over 90 cars, was carrying all crude oil. The crude oil was contained to the cars that were leaking, and there's been nothing that has leaked past the point outside of the tracks. Both sets of tracks from the aerial shots that we have currently right now are completely demolished, and CP Rail is currently mobilizing to come into the scene to take care of the tracks and rebuild the area. So at this time, like you said, there is no current threat to the general public. We're going to monitor that throughout the next couple hours, working with emergency management, along with CP Rail, and give any updates as needed throughout the night. At this time, we'll take any questions.
A couple things, yeah.
Go ahead.
I do want to stress to the community that the railroad tracks are private property. They belong to the railroad. It is not open for anybody just to walk down railroad tracks to see what's going on, to take pictures, and anybody who is found on those tracks could be cited or arrested for trespassing. So we ask the public to please stay out of the area, allow our emergency crews to do what they need to do so that they're not getting in the way. But even if there wasn't a derailment, you can't be walking on or near railroad tracks on their property. So please stay clear of that so we don't have any of those issues. I have my staff out there watching. Canadian Railroad Police, Canadian Pacific Railroad Police are out there as well, monitoring that. So with that, again, the community is safe, and we are certainly open to answering any questions that you have.
Any idea what caused it?
At the current time, we are looking at it, potential that the track did split again. Too early to tell at this time. There'll be an investigation on it, but it's currently right in the same area as the last time that happened 2 years ago.
Are the tank cars, are they leaking at this minute?
Currently at this minute, they are leaking. We are actively working on mitigating that right now. The hazmat team is out there on scene. We have multiple resources down there. We did deploy our CLR hazmat card and called in multiple outside agencies to assist with this. As I said, Dodge County Hazmat, Sheriff's Department, CP Rail. So yes, we are currently working on mitigating that as we speak.
Is there an estimate on how long cleanup efforts will take?
Currently, right now, we don't have that, but in the past, when we did have that 2 years ago, within 24 to 48 hours, the tracks were back open and they were going live. They're currently mobilizing all of their equipment to the Kane warehousing area at this time. As the sheriff mentioned, and for the public that is tuning in here, please stay clear of the scene. Let the workers do their jobs right now, as well as the rail.
Additionally, with this being a shared track with Amtrak, it is a federal response. So obviously, with it being a federal response to get this open, it is a priority for them. They've got a lot of passenger trains that are now stopped. So I would imagine that this will be a quick response. The one good thing that we have this time that we didn't have the last time is that no highways are blocked. Last time, Main Street here in Reeseville was blocked off for, I believe, till about 11 o'clock at night. So I would imagine, and they had things open up relatively quickly last time. It was impressive. I would say they most likely will have most of this cleaned up, well, not cleaned up, but a good chunk of it done by morning. They work very, very quickly on these.
I want to make sure I understand then. So Amtrak schedules are being impacted by this?
And this is a live look. Authorities are explaining what happened with that train derailment in Lowell. Right now they say no one is injured, but they did say initially they thought 22 cars had derailed, but that number is actually more than 30 according to the fire chief just now.
The Dodge County Sheriff said they are very fortunate this was not an Amtrak passenger train, that the train was carrying crude oil, and that some of the cars that derailed are still leaking, but there is no hazard to the community. And we got very lucky here. It isn't even impacting traffic in the area.
Yeah, and a big note that they emphasized, stay away from it. That is not public land, and if you are caught trying to take pictures or take a look, you could face some penalties out there.
You can continue to follow this news conference live on channel3000.com.
Well, let's get a look at our first WARN weather forecast. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano.
Thanks, Brady. We are seeing some storms out in Iowa, but they are dissipating as they push into Wisconsin. Still likely to bring some rain to southwest Wisconsin, but this did produce severe weather earlier, and right now the severe weather risk with this storm is pretty low. Now, as we take a look at the rest of the evening, or at least the next couple of hours, that storm is going to continue to dissipate as it pushes from west to east. Again, still bringing some rain, but the rain does look to be pretty isolated for areas to the south and southwest of Madison in the southwestern portion of Wisconsin. But there's a possibility for more rain later in the night. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Also want to mention it's pretty hot out there, middle to upper 80s for actual temperatures. Heat index values are in the middle to lower 90s for parts of the area right now. And although we're not going to see any rain for this evening for at least most of the area, it is going to be a hot one, with Madison specifically seeing clear skies and temperatures staying in the 80s through about sunset and then dropping into the 70s. Now, like I mentioned, there is a chance of storms later in the night, but there are two possible outcomes with the storms tonight and for tomorrow. I'll talk more in detail about that coming up a bit later.
Thank you, Jacob. Well, earlier this week, Madison lost a well-established member of the community and an advocate for criminal justice reform.
We'll talk about the life and legacy of Jessa Nicholson Getz later on Live at 4.
And Jacob has another look at the weekend forecast when Live at 4 continues.
Well, in less than a month, UW-Madison students will be returning to campus.
Here we are, but there will be fewer places for them to study. News 3 Now's Badger beat reporter Kayla Dembeck shows us why. Kayla.
Yes, things will look a little different at UW-Madison this fall. 3 libraries on campus are closing. The Geology Library, Social Work Library, and the Astronomy, Mathematics, and Physics Library will be closing their doors in the coming months. It's all due to a 7% campus-wide budget cut announced this summer. Closures will roll out over the coming year, with the timeline still being finalized. This decision sparked controversy online, with students and community members sharing their frustration across social media platforms. To hear from campus leaders on what's behind the decision, check out the Badger Beat on Instagram and TikTok by searching Badger_Beat.
All right, Kayla, thank you. Still to come today on Live at 4, we're remembering the life and career of a local lawyer.
We sit down with Jessa Nicholson Getz's partner about the legacy she left behind. There was an outpouring of support this week to honor the life and career of one of Wisconsin's most noted criminal defense attorneys.
Jessa Nicholson Getz was a frequent commentator here on News 3 Now. She shockingly passed away last week at the age of 42. Criminal defense attorney Chris Van Wagner is a longtime colleague and a dear friend of Jessa's. Chris, it's so good to have you here. Welcome.
Well, it's a tough week, but thanks for having me.
We're so sorry for your loss. Brady and I also feel like we lost a friend.
Yeah, she was a great person.
And that's who Jessa was.
You know, I always told people that Jessa was my closest friend in Madison. And my wife would sometimes make fun of me over that because we lived in Madison. But the funny thing is, Jessa had such a gift. And the gift was she listened to people, and she really listened. Now, you know, lawyers love to hear their own voice. But she listened, and how you know that is because I'll bet there were 100 people there last night who felt exactly as I did, that she's my closest friend in Madison. That's a gift.
Yeah.
And that was remarkable. And it didn't matter if you were a lawyer, it didn't matter if you were a friend. I mean, I met all of her best friends, and there were about 100 at least. It was amazing.
Yeah, when we had her on, it did seem like she had never met a stranger. And when we would ask her about certain legal cases, she had a way of telling us about them without talking down to us. And that's really huge, I think.
Well, you know, she did that because she always interacted with the world of law the way she interacted with the rest of her life, which is right here, right in your face, okay? She did not beat around the bush. She described things in the colorful way that only her mind could come up with. And I heard a funny story last night that I'd never heard before. She was walking into a courtroom in Columbia County. Now, Jess is well known for not being a good walker. She wears big heels, and she had balance issues. She once fell right in front of me, and I grabbed her. She walked into the courtroom. tumbled so slowly, it was like a freight train getting rolling. And she got up and she took a bow to the whole courtroom and said, "That is the grace and elegance with which I will represent you."
What is the impact she leaves behind on the legal community and a community at large?
Well, the best way to illustrate that is to tell you about last night. So we all gathered at Garver Feed Mill. It was not a public ceremony because you can laugh if you want, but if all of her clients and families wanted to come, we would have needed Camp Randall, okay? But there were 500 plus people there. It was a quiet, somber gathering. Everybody told quiet stories, but every single person in that community had some connection to her through law. Retired judges, former police officers, former prosecutors, current lawyers, and then family. And every single one of them was somber.
Yeah.
And you know, they say that your grief is a measure of the love you have, but it's really the love you've been given. And Jessa, maybe she gave too much of herself. Sometimes we give people what we need the most, and she just gave and gave and gave. So maybe she did in 20 years as a lawyer what most of us can only hope to achieve in 40 or 50, and I don't know if I'll ever get there.
What an honor to have Jessa be on our show so frequently. Now let's get a look at our first storm forecast. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano.
Thanks, Brady. As we take a look at that storm in Iowa, not only is it dissipating a little bit, still producing some severe weather, but it's also kind of drifting to the south, which looks like it might miss our area, at least the severe weather. Still expecting to see some light showers, maybe some possible heavy rain for southwest Wisconsin, but the strongest does look to stay south of our area entirely. Now, for the overnight hours, there are two possible outcomes, and that will then lead into Saturday. So this is the first outcome. That storm in Iowa really dissipates as it pushes into southwest Wisconsin, still bringing some rain, but not severe weather. And then we don't see any additional showers and thunderstorms for the rest of the night, but that could lead to more rain for Saturday. So we'll see a round of rain late morning, early afternoon north, and then we'll see more scattered showers and storms for the afternoon hours. And we're going to continue to see some of these showers and thunderstorms as we head into the overnight hours Saturday. Now, if we do see more rain tonight, this is the second possible outcome. Now, in both cases, that Iowa storm not really going to produce much for our area, but the second outcome brings in a second round of showers and thunderstorms, mainly for areas west of Madison, bringing in more rain for the overnight hours. But then that will lead to less rain, potentially no rain for Saturday. So it all depends on how much rain we see tonight, and if we see less tonight, we'll see more tomorrow, and vice versa. Now, in both cases, we are going to see these showers and thunderstorms redevelop Saturday night, and we'll continue to see the chance of some thunderstorms for early next week. So really from now through Monday, we are going to see just on and off showers and thunderstorms, possibly continuing into Tuesday as well. But then after Tuesday, we are going to dry up and also cool down a little bit, as highs will be in the upper 70s for a lot of next week. And then maybe even in the middle 70s by the end of the 10-day forecast.
The Madison Police and Fire Commission is almost done with its search for a new police chief.
Last night, the commission conducted its final interviews with each candidate. The search is down to 3 candidates: Captain Stephanie Drescher, Milwaukee Assistant Police Chief Stephen Johnson, and Madison Interim Police Chief John Patterson. The commission is meeting again right now. They're going over public input that they've received about the search, and then members will go into a closed session to discuss who will lead the Madison Police Department.
And of course, you can find out more about these candidates online on our website, channel3000.com.
And we're looking forward to having the new Madison Police Chief here on Live at 4 as soon as that person is selected.
Yeah, we're working on that, so all right. We'll be right back. On Monday's Live at 4, Will Loper reviews the weekend at the box office. And coming up on News 3 Now at 5, there is still time to help us stuff the bus. Tanisha Shaw is live in Madison with how many donations we've received and how you can help. Well, thanks for watching Live at 4 today. We hope to see you back here on Monday. Remember, you can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.